girl accidentally fell into a deep well in the singles village. When they finally rescued the girl, she loudly claimed there were many beautiful ladies down there. At first the villagers did not believe her. However, that day a bachelor accidentally dropped a chicken into the well. Magically a woman actually crawled out of the well. Seeing this shocking scene, the bachelor did not think twice and carried the woman home as his wife. Before long the villagers learned of this, so the bachelors of the village all began throwing animals into the well. Sure enough, every animal turned into a woman, and the more valuable the animal the more gorgeous the woman became. Except for being unable to speak, they looked just like real people. They were skilled at washing and cooking and everything else. Seeing all the young men getting wives, John decided to take the family piglet to trade for a wife too, but his father stopped him. After all, the fairy said only fully grown animals could be exchanged for a wife, and when his sister saw how desperate he was to marry, she grabbed a fully grown mouse from home. At first the brother refused. After all, only valuable animals could bring back a high quality wife. He absolutely did not want an ugly one. His sister insisted having one was better than having none. Once they had money they could trade for a better one later. John thought about it and agreed. So after being single for many years he took the mouse to find the fairy. The fairy hoped he would think carefully. After all, only good offerings could bring back a high quality wife. But the young man said his family was simply too poor. So he told the fairy he would accept whatever came out, as long as it was a woman that was enough. His sister also knelt and begged the fairy, saying they would send more animals as compensation after the others grew up. But the fairy still refused. Seeing this, John gave up. Yet when the fairy was distracted, he dashed forward and threw the mouse into the well. At this point the fairy had no choice but to agree, and warned him not to regret it later. But after being single so long, John only longed for a wife and cared about nothing else. So the fairy began shaking her bell. Watching the white smoke rise from the well, John was overjoyed. However, his sister said this ceremony seemed different from the earlier ones. John mocked her, saying she knew nothing. He added that just by the sound alone he could tell a very beautiful woman would appear. When a hand reached up from the well, John eagerly tried to pull his wife up, but no matter how hard he pulled she would not move. So he shouted for his sister to help. As soon as his sister came close, an old wrinkled lady crawled out of the well. Indeed, this was the wife he got by trading a mouse. Seeing this, John immediately blamed everything on his sister. If it were not for her terrible idea he would never have thrown the mouse in. Because of the fairy's rule, John had no choice but to take the old lady home as his wife. On the way back they were seen by the village's young men. When they learned the old lady was the wife he traded a mouse for, they immediately mocked John for being useless. After all, one of them had traded a sheep for a stunning wife just yesterday. So that young man came up with a rotten idea. Why not throw John's sister in and maybe he could get a prettier one? And those words completely reminded John. The next morning the young man held a grand feast to celebrate marrying his beautiful wife. Everyone admired how wealthy he must be, using a sheep to get such a gorgeous bride. When everyone heard that John had traded a mouse for an old lady, they all laughed at him. This made John remember the young man's suggestion. Since they were close brothers, the young man quickly found an animal costume for John, telling him to try it that night. But when John returned home holding the costume, he discovered his father was preparing to marry off his sister. John quickly said he would take his sister to her new home, so he led her away halfway, pretending he could not bear to see her married off and planned to take her far away. This deeply touched his sister. Before they noticed, night had fallen. John brought his sister up the mountain, but the farther they walked the more familiar the path felt to her. Seeing his sister grow suspicious, John handed her the bread he prepared.